to place an experience. Indulge your senses with immersive game titles. Boost the excitement with our engaging promotional tools and generous network promotions. Be in control with XI Viewport Management Tool and experience seamless gameplay powered by X Platform. Enjoy place and experience as our partners do in over 20 regulated markets. And get ready to go big. Big play is on. Placent.
Well, hello, good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of your Next.io weekly news, bringing you all the biggest headlines from the iGaming sector, whether you want them or not. It's 1,000 degrees Celsius in London. I feel like I'm being boiled alive, but if you think that's going to stop me, well, you've got another thing coming. I'm joined, luckily, by my wonderful co-host who's going to do all the hard work for me today, Mr. Nico Jansen, back in business. How are you?
I'm doing pretty fine. So that's the underlying reason, because just to pick each and everybody up where we are as of now, before we are just doing this one live, we actually, of course, meet 10 minutes in advance and just have a little bit of a talk about the show. And now it makes sense why Frodo was just running at the back of Connor, throwing the one and only ring out of the window. You should have seen it. I've seen it. I've witnessed it. So that's the reason why things happen as they happen. And it's fun. It's fun. Sometimes, you just gotta be a little bit funny and don't take things that serious. That's why you listen to us. But as soon as it comes to the news, to the stories, and the experts we are sometimes being able to be partnered up with during the show. Once again, shout out to each and everybody. Yeah, it is like it is.
There you go. Nico, have you been busy? It's the middle of summer. I think a lot of people are taking some time off. They're spending time with family, taking a bit of a summer holiday. Have you been doing anything nice? Watching the Olympics
Yeah, watching the Olympics. So first of all, when you once worked in investment banking, there's one golden rule: take no days off. I still apply my own habits to that rule. So as long as I can, receive emails and answer them and make sure things just work in a specific way and order, I'm constantly and always working, which doesn't mean I don't hike, because I do. Living close to the mountains, that's pretty awesome. And I'm considered as a nature boy. Once you're born as a nature boy, you never leave it, although I'm living in a town. But as said, that's my kind of close by heaven. What about yourself? Are you taking days off?
Not at the moment, Nico, no, but maybe later in the month when it gets unbearably hot. When you say you're a nature boy, I assume that doesn't mean it's the same thing as being a naturist. You don't go hiking in the nude, Nico, I hope. I hope you keep it 100. Oh, Liga's here with us. Hi, Liga. It's so nice to see you. Where have you been all our lives? Good. At least we've got one viewer. So, Liga, today it's all about you. That's what it's for. So, Nico, in honor of Liga, she loves the 10 in 5. She wants to get those headlines. Why don't you take it away and give us your top 10 stories of the week? More to follow afterwards.
So first of all, once again, shout out to Liga from Riga. We love you, especially as you are the person that you are, and fingers crossed you will love your new job at least as you loved your old job. So taking each and everybody to the latest and greatest of our news, the UAE finally launched an authorized lottery under a new regulatory framework. The General Commercial Gaming Regulatory Authority, short GCGRA, has issued a license to the Game LLC, Abu Dhabi company, to launch the UAE lottery, marking the introduction of the country's first authorized lottery operations. They had been toe-to-toe with two other companies. One of them had been hosting and running the draw of the Mazoos, And as of now, the UAE lottery will go live shortly. And this will pave the way for the licensing regime, which we've all been waiting for the Wynn Resort in Ras Al Khaimah. So we all know, and fingers crossed, things in the UAE are about to change. Then picking up a topic which we already talked about 2 weeks ago, as France records a 24% increase in H1, so first half of 2024 bets, despite an underwhelming Euros. So sports betting in France grew 24%, up to 5 billion was wagered on sports in the country during the first half of 2024, according to the new data from l'Autorité Nationale de Jeux. Despite growth across active players and the increased betting amount in the period, the amount bet on the Euros fell short and of the estimated 1 billion expectations, and it just came in at 650 million. And as said, we already had this topic 2 weeks ago, as there was a statement that illegal players are totaling 4 million in 2023 ahead of the regulated sector, which comes in at 3.6 million. As said, so these 5 billion represent just half of the overall market. Then heading over to Italy, as Lottomatica Group reports a 23% increase in bets for H1 2024. So the Lottomatica Group has announced its financial results for the first half of 2024, demonstrating continued growth and an increase in market share. And now listen, the company reported total bets worth 18 billion euros. So one company in Italy makes 4 times the wagering of the whole nation of France. And this reflects a 23% increase year on year. And the revenue for the first half of the year reached 931.8 million, which also represents a 20% rise in normalized payout. Still being in France, as the French operator also has reported a robust performance for the first half of 2024, with revenue reaching 1.43 billion, which is a 10.8% year-on-year growth. And now we listen to Stéphane Palech, chair and CEO of FDJ, and she says this solid performance confirms our annual targets. In addition, we hope to finalize the acquisition project of Kindred in the near future, thereby marking a major new step in the group's development, both internationally and in our online sports betting and gaming activity, to the benefit of all our stakeholders. And this is what you call diversifying the portfolio. Then heading over to a quite interesting M&A story, which just came up, as Apollo Global backs a 6.3 billion hijack of IGT and Avery. So Apollo Global has initiated a blockbuster deal to simultaneously acquire IGT, PLC's gaming and digital business, alongside Avery Holding. The offer comes as Avery moves to complete its February transaction to merge its business with IGT's global gaming and play digital units, as dealmakers seek to form a new independently owned IGT separated from its lottery technology business. The overall PE fund has submitted an all-cash counteroffer, which places a value of approximately $6.3 billion to acquire the combined business. Then a long-lasting dream might come true, as Las Vegas Sands seeks North Texas support for casino legalization ahead of 2025 session. Andy Aboud, Senior Vice President of Government Relations for Las Vegas Sands, met with leaders from Dallas. Notable attendees included Arlington Major Jim Ross, Irving Major, Rick Stopfer, and Dallas City Council member Chet West, leading Mr. West to the following statement: I believe Texas will legalize gambling, and because of that, I think we have an undeniable duty as representatives to be prepared for that. Dallas Council City member Chet West said this in a statement. So Texas might become reality for gaming as well. And of course, each and everybody of you still knows that Las Vegas Sands just bought the Dallas Mavericks for $3.5 billion, paving the way as well. And now we have 3 interesting stories from New York, as senators and close friend of Next.io, Senator Edibu's survey finds just 44% support of New York iGaming. About 44% of the 532 constituents in New York State district said they supported online casino gaming in an online poll conducted in May. And this led to the following statement: what this leads me to believe is that the people are, I guess, hesitant about expanding gaming. But there was another poll put out during session when we were thinking about revenue. Do you want to raise taxes or do you want iGaming? And of course, you give the people that choice and they go, boom, iGaming. So it's all relative, Edibu said. The second topic, just from New York, is on theater, union voices opposition to Caesars New York casino. Caesars Palace Times Square, the casino proposed for New York City by Caesars Entertainment, developer SL Green, and rapper Jay-Z, has run into new union opposition. So the International Alliance of Theatrical State Employees, however, has come out against the project, stating a casino in New York would add a new dimension to New York City's vibrant entertainment industry, but placing it amid our theater district would be a mistake. The International Alliance of Theatrical State Employees told the New York Post last week on Thursday. So there are headwinds to casino projects on Times Square, and we will see how this actually turns out. Then, WinBet stops taking bets in New York. WinBet has stopped taking bets in New York after agreeing to sell its New York mobile sports betting license to Penn Entertainment, and Penn will launch ESPN Bet in the state. Wynn's website has updated to include New York among the 10 jurisdictions in which its platform has closed operations, along with Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Louisiana, New Jersey, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, and Massachusetts. And then 2 more, as Alabama baseball scandal finally leads to prison sentence for Neff. As already mentioned back in February, Indiana businessman and youth baseball coach Bert Neff has been sentenced to prison for his role in gambling scandal that led to the firing of the former head coach of Alabama's baseball program, Brett Bohannon. And then last but not least, Holland Casino publicly reprimanded for money laundering compliance failures. In 2019, the Dutch Gaming Authority, KSA, issued an indication to Holland Casino for failing to comply with certain requirements of the law on the prevention of money laundering and financing of terrorism. As a result, the KSA ordered Holland Casino to address these issues within specific deadlines, which the casino met. And this has been my 10 and 5.
Wow, I'm exhausted just listening to you, Nico, but I hope you don't take that as an insult. By the way, shout out to any listeners in West Virginia, which of course is just like Virginia, but everyone there wears waistcoats. Sorry, Nico, I don't mean to take the mickey. Okay, I believe, though, we've got 4 main stories this week that we're going to dive into in just a minute. But before we do, I think you have a local update, a bonus story. This is going to bring our grand total of headlines today to 15, Nico, which has got to be a world record for the most iGaming topics ever discussed on a single podcast, live and direct. So, why don't you give us your bonus topic too?
Yeah, so just after we hang up the recording of last week's edition, and once again, shout out to Jörg Hoffmann for enlightening us about the overall why a lawsuit has been transferred from the German Court of Justice to the European Court of Justice. Bet3000, a long-lasting and well-established brand in Germany, has had their licenses being revoked, which is quite interesting, as they have not been mentioned on the German Gaming Authority whitelist anymore, where you can look up if you're dealing with a licensed or non-licensed entity. And Bet3000 has not been excluded from that specific whitelist. And this just happened 5 minutes after we hang up last week's episode. So if we would have been aware of this happening last week, of course, this would have been breaking news. But as of now, I will just walk you through this a little bit. As soon as you're not whitelisted anymore, you need to shut down, first of all your operations, which means iGaming and your retail shops as well. And with the Bet3000 not being whitelisted anymore, we are speaking about 200 shops in Germany which they urgently needed to close. So no more betting in shops, no more betting online at Bet3000, and roughly 1,500 employees are affected by this decision as well. Of course, there's a little bit of back and forth. There's this rumor going on that they did not use the mandatory official APIs of Lugas and Oasis, which the regulatory just runs in Germany. And of course, Bet3000 is stating otherwise. So we will see actually how this one turns out. But one thing is for sure, due to the distance protocol or the overall rule that you cannot operate a sports betting shop inside a radius of 500 meters, of course, these existing betting shops are now a very, very high demanded shops and ingredient. And we will see how long these shops will still stick to Bet3000, or if they will already sign up with other operators who are still licensed in Germany. So fingers crossed to each and everybody being involved. And as said, quite sure as soon as there will be something which we can report, you will just be able to read it on the Next.io website as well.
Thanks, Nico. Yeah, absolutely. Something needs to get resolved there. A lot of people's jobs hanging in the balance, I guess. So a bit of a tricky time over in Germany. We will be keeping our eye on that one. But now it's time to go into our first main story for the week. And I want to take you all the way to the other side of the world, to New Zealand. Yeah, that'll be very nice, won't it? New Zealand's government, as you may have heard, is set to introduce a licensing system for online casino operators by, drumroll please, 2026. So in the next couple of years, although actually I think they said early 2026, so let's say in the next 18 months, we are expecting to see some kind of regulatory system go live for online casino in New Zealand. According to the government, the regime will aim to minimize harm while enhancing consumer protection and tax collection. and will require operators to meet stringent criteria before offering their services to New Zealanders. So, Minister of Internal Affairs Brooke van Velden said this is not intended to increase the amount of gambling New Zealanders do, but to ensure operators meet requirements for consumer protection and harm minimization, as well as paying tax. Nico, it's a story as old as time. You're losing money if you let your country use only offshore unregulated operators. They're not difficult to find, and New Zealand makes nothing out of it. And of course, those consumers don't have the same protections that they get in a locally licensed system. So we've heard all this before. Now, the government plans, interestingly, the government plans to issue a limited number of licenses through an auction. So we don't know how much these things are going to cost. It depends how confident the local sort of operators or international operators feel about how much money they can make. But I'm guessing it'll probably run into the millions of dollars for a license. Licenses will be valid for 3 years, as long, of course, as operators remain compliant with regulatory standards. Minimum age for gambling will be set at 18. No surprises there. The licensing will strictly cover online casino gaming. It's got nothing to do with sports betting or lottery advertising, lottery operations. I say advertising because licensed operators will be allowed to engage in advertising. That's what we know so far, which is currently banned. So that would be a good thing. But strict restrictions will remain in place. Sports sponsorships will still be prohibited for online casinos. But we haven't got all the details yet, of course. This is a bit of a statement of intent from the New Zealand government. I wonder how much it would be interesting to know, Nico, how much New Zealand and Australian politics share in common. Of course, there is no online casino regulation in Australia. Could this lead to a bit of a turning of the tide because their neighbours do it? Maybe they start thinking about it as well. So we don't know. It's obviously a very small population in New Zealand. It's not going to be the world's biggest market. But Australia are the biggest gamblers per capita anywhere in the world. They love it. So maybe New Zealanders, no offense to anyone out there who's a Kiwi and who's saying, stop comparing us to Australia. I'm only doing it because they're next to you. I don't mean you're all the same. I know you're all different. Anyway, so early 26, they're expecting the new system to be operational. And once it's established, it will be overseen by the government's Department of Internal Affairs. So that's our first story, Nico. What do you make of that? Are you as optimistic as me? Do you think this will lead to the creation of a dynamic and vibrant new market?
So locally for sure, for sure. And as you already mentioned, as long as you have no regulatory framework, it's a grayish market. So you can't tax anyone and anything, which obviously happens in Australia, as you already pointed out, one of the highest, or not the highest, spent on gaming per capita in Australia. And from time to time, we just see news that the regulatory framework or the regulator in Australia is banning websites, as of course they're also facing like black markets operations as well. So I am pretty sure that of course it ain't the biggest market. Maybe it would be the biggest market globally if it would be considered as the sheep wool market for whatever reason. Maybe, we don't know for sure, but getting back to the point, why should the government, don't consider these taxes to being quite interesting, or this additional income being interesting for the government as well? So that's why you come up and set up a regulatory framework, first of all, for tax reasons, and then, of course, for player protection as well. This is where actually the overall business comes from the player protection. Because in the end, taxation, especially in the US, they are cutting a big portion of the overall pie. And usually taxation or the government, they are the biggest operator within the licensed state per se.
Yeah, well, we'll keep an eye on this one, Nico. I don't think anything's going to happen immediately, but 18 months, I think, generally speaking, if you look at, look at what happened in Brazil, for example, dragged on for nearly 10 years for them to get regulation. I think 18 months is kind of optimistic, but again, it's a small population. I think they're quite, they have quite a focused politics. I believe if they want to get it done in that time frame, they can. So watch this space. Hopefully we get some updates on this very soon. But I think that's about all we know so far about New Zealand. But bit of good news for the regulated sector. Another market added to the list of regulated markets nearly. Now, Nico, I think you've been looking at DraftKings this week as well. What's going on?
Yeah, quite interesting. As DraftKings ditched their NFT marketplace following a class action lawsuit. So if you want to read the full story, feel free to actually scan the QR code, which you can see on your screen as well. So DraftKings is shutting down its NFT business following a class action lawsuit, arguing tokens on its marketplace were unregistered securities. And as soon as the SEC, which is overviewing the overall kind of finance industry and what's happening in this industry, you don't play around. You don't want to offend them. So that's why they obviously shut down. So the lawsuit was originally filed in March 2023, and DraftKings' motion to dismiss the case was denied by a Massachusetts federal judge earlier this month, and that's why they obviously pulled the plug. So the overall suit alleged NFTs on DraftKings marketplace constituted investment contracts and should therefore have been regulated as securities under federal US law. And there it gets very, very complicated, and high-paid lawyers enter the field, and that's one additional comment why they pulled the plug. So DraftKings then launched an NFT-based daily fantasy game, Rainmakers, which allowed customers to acquire more digital collectibles. In an email sent to customers this week, the operator said, after careful consideration, DraftKings has decided to discontinue Rainmakers on our NFT marketplace, effective immediately due to recent legal developments. The decision was not made lightly, and we believe it is the right course of action. Due to this update, we have decided to offer all holders of Rainmakers digital game pieces the opportunity to relinquish those game pieces to DraftKings in exchange for cash payment. The payment amount will be based on factors that include, but are not limited to, the relative size and quantity of your digital game piece collection. So at least they might get cash in return, because usually when things like this happen, you might get a voucher, and you will be able to use this voucher on the website, like spending money on DraftKings as well. And for those who still remember NFT, so the non-fungible token once was a very, very big trend, and people were so eagerly hopping on that train, like the Zone did in Japan when they lined up with a digital media platform, Mixi, in 2021, if I'm not mistaken. And guess what? Until today, they just barely broke even. So NFT obviously never became the big trend as it was once aimed to be. So, Connor, what do you make out of this story?
I think you're right. I think DraftKings has pulled the plug to avoid having the discussion, to be honest, because it's going to cost everyone a fortune on all sides just to argue it out in court. It's not obvious to me why an NFT would be considered an unregistered security compared to the painting on your wall behind you. I think it's a collector's item or a piece of art or whatever. I wouldn't buy one, and if I did buy one, I wouldn't consider it an investment equivalent to buying futures options or stocks and shares or whatever. I wouldn't have thought of it in the same way. I know a lot of people did at the time, and the growth was super rapid, and it was. I think anyone who's seen a pump and dump before can kind of tell what's going to happen there, because these valuations just were astronomical. So I know a lot of people were kind of hoodwinked into thinking it was some kind of safe investment, which it obviously wasn't. It was a bit of a Ponzi scheme, in my view. But it's not immediately obvious to me that either side has the strongest case. If I was going to think about it personally, I would say they're not unregistered securities that need to be regulated by the SEC. That doesn't seem that way to me. I think they're digital collectibles, which is what they're often referred to as. So I don't know why that makes it an unregistered security, but maybe I'm ignorant of this issue. I mean, what did you think?
So first of all, you are not ignorant. Yeah, that's a fact. The only the thing which actually comes to my mind is, as a stock listed company, which DraftKings obviously is, you don't want to rattle the bush so much. So as soon as your case is dismissed, obviously, which happens due to a federal judge in Massachusetts, there is so much on the line that you just don't want to offend anyone and just focus on your regular and money bringing or revenue generating business, which is first of all the daily fantasy sports, and then actually converting the DFS users into active punters on your sports betting end. So that's why I'm pretty sure it was quite an easy decision of DraftKings to just let go of this business and just focusing on their revenue drivers, which are the DFS and the sports betting entity as well.
Yeah, a couple of figures are going to be interesting if we can find them out, Nico. The first thing I'd like to know is how much money did DraftKings make from operating this marketplace? Did they, are they just another entity which has jumped on the NFT hype, made a load of money, and left everybody else losing out, and then just got out of the game? Could well be. I don't know the figures. And the other thing is, when they say they're going to offer people cash in return for their Rainmakers NFTs, will they, be paying people back at the equivalent cash value for what they bought them at, or are they going to offer them 10% of the value back or whatever? So I had a look online yesterday on a lot of forums and Reddit threads and this kind of thing, people talking about what they were going to do. A lot of people saying, no, hold on to it, don't take the cash or something. I don't know what they're hoping for, but we'll keep an eye on this one, and we'll see if we can find out more soon. So there you go. That's 13 headlines already. Headline number 14. Is anyone getting tired yet? It is. Just a quick one this time. We've got an acquisition of props.com, Third Planet Affiliates. This is a pretty new company. It was set up this year. Has acquired props.com, which, funnily enough, Nico, is a player props focused website. It's a kind of news, sports news and media website for US sports. It was previously owned by Fans Unite Entertainment, which is a company we've heard lots about in the past. And now it's been bought by Third Planet Affiliates. Now, who are Third Planet Affiliates? Well, it's a duo. Adam Small, who was formerly the CEO of US Bets, and Cal Spears, who was formerly the CEO of Roto Grinders. Both of these are US-facing affiliate websites. And these two guys, I think, used to work together in the past, and then Better Collective over here in Europe acquired several assets, including Roto Grinders. I think they both sold a brand or two to Better Collective, and now they've come back together, Adam and Cal, to set up Third Planet affiliates. So as well as now they've got props.com, they also have casinoreports.com and lotterygeeks.com. So you see they're putting their eggs in a few different baskets here. We've got iGaming, sports betting, and lottery. So pretty smart. And the company's mission is, quote, to provide top quality casino, lottery, and player props news and tools to the US-facing consumer and industry insiders without putting anything behind a paywall. A company after my own heart, Nico. I like not putting things behind paywalls too. So, Cal Spears said props.com is a category-defining domain name with significant search traction, a perfect fit for covering traditional US sports betting and the burgeoning DFS Plus space. Our young company is excited to build props.com into a daily resource for both bettors and fantasy players. So there you go. Just a quick one there about the latest acquisition. Undisclosed, so we'll find out more once something changes. But I did forget to mention that we should take a quick pause, Nico, just for a few seconds while we share a very important message from one of our partners.
Of games, hundreds of studios, dozens of hub market partners, an industry-leading hub wallet, and just one API. Hub 88 is connecting businesses to a world of limitless content where the possibilities are endless. Hub 88.
There you have it, Nico, and we are rapidly closing in on our final story of the day, from one acquisition to another. We're always hearing about acquisitions by public companies. It's nice to see private companies growing in this way as well. So we had Third Planet affiliates there. And next up, we've got an acquisition by the world famous one and only stake.com. Nico, what have you got for us?
Yeah, so as already mentioned within my 10 and 5, Italy is quite a significant market in the gaming and iGaming space, and Stake expands into Italy with their Idealbet acquisition. So Stake.com has acquired Italy-based sports betting and remote gaming operator Baldoline, which operates the Idealbet brand. Following the acquisition, Stake will establish an office in Italy and introduce more gaming options to players in the country. Idealbet will continue to operate under its own brand within the Stake portfolio. And the chief strategy officer at Stake Technology and service provider EasyGo, Mr. Bryce Penna, said, "This acquisition aligns with our strategic ambitions to increase our global footprint, particularly in an established region like Italy, and marks a significant milestone for Stake." One second. And this strategic acquisition marks Stake's continued growth into a new regulated markets following its acquisition of Betfair in November 2023, which announced its entry into Latin America as well. Simone Pachera, CEO of Octavian Group, one second, I just need to realign things, which was formerly owned by the owner of Idealbet, said, "We are thrilled to transition operations to Stake, a globally renowned brand with a proven track record of delivering exceptional player experience as well. We are confident that Stake will significantly enhance the growth of Idealbet and bring renewed energy to our players, as well as the entire Italian online gaming market." So this one is also quite interesting, as Stake.com started their business as a crypto only casino, and they obviously paved their way with deep pockets and now spending the money, diversifying the portfolio. They are just the newest entry of the F1 circus with the Stake.com F1 team as well. And now they will start putting out their name into Italy as well. And one thing is for sure, this will not be their last acquisition as well. So whoever wants or whoever thinks it's a non-sellable company, maybe someone from stake.com will just knock your door and you will be happy to actually take whatever they offer. So Connor, what do you make out of this story about stake.com?
Yeah, it's interesting that Idealbet, it's not like Stake's just acquiring their tech stack and operations and then going to rebrand it under the Stake brand. I guess, there's an effort to keep Stake's original brand, like you say, the crypto-focused stuff kind of separate. So it's interesting that they want to enter Italy with, I suppose it's already an established brand there. I don't remember having seen Idealbet on any of the market share breakdowns of the Italian market. I don't think it's the biggest player in the country. But as we know, Nico, what always wins in these races is product. So if Stake can use their know-how to really improve what Idealbet has to offer, then there's absolutely no reason they can't grow that market share. So, could be a good one. But also, I just think I should mention, I think you missed out that it was Betfair Colombia operations that Stake purchased last year, got its way into Latin America. They have, I think, a kind of sweepstakes casino in the US. If you go to stake.com there, here in the UK, they have a fiat currency not standard, but a kind of a normal operation that's not crypto focused. So they're obviously diversifying quite a lot and kind of counting on that international market as well as locally regulated, locally licensed markets in fiat currency. So, we never have any indication that Stake is struggling. They seem to go from strength to strength. Big celebrity endorsements, super popular brand. People obviously love the product. So it will be interesting to see what happens with Idealbet. But Nico, who needs 10 in 5 when you can do 15 in 45? Wasn't that good?
Yeah, that was fun. That was a lot of fun.
Exhausted?
Sorry?
Are you exhausted?
Not exhausted, so we can do like 20 more topics, which we will do probably in 3 weeks of time, especially as our audience, the live audience, just comes up with a topic and they're like, okay, so XYZ, I want to have your expertise on the Olympic festives. And I'm pretty sure Kanamal here, who has read everything in between the lines and the official stories as well, you can quiz him on whatever topic. So feel free to put Connor on the hot seat next week or the week after next week or the next week after next week, and he will give you a reliable answer. So start quizzing him.
That's right. And you know me, Nico, if I don't know, I'm not afraid to say it. I always admit when I don't know, which unfortunately is most of the time. So it's been a lot of fun this week, Nico. The pleasure is always mine. Highlight of my week getting together with you for this. Thanks to everybody else for watching too. And thanks to Playson and Hub 88 for sponsoring this episode. I'm too hot, so I need to open my windows. I think it's time to go. But Nico, as always, we'll be back here in the same place at the same time next week. So just get ready for that and I'll see you here.
Okay. Have a lovely weekend to all of you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.